Hey, what's up, fam? This is Trevay Willis. Some know me as Trey, some know me as Trevay Willis. Hey, it's all good. Such a wonderful Tuesday, rainy but productive. A lot of transports today. And, I always got you guys at mind. I always got you guys at heart because in reality, I really love what I do. I'm sold out with transportation, and I have a heart for helping you guys try to get to that level. Sometimes it gets kind of overwhelming trying to help everybody at the same time, but hey, I do the very best I could possibly do. But one thing about it is I just don't make videos to just make videos. I make videos based off personal experiences. And how I do my videos is I have to be, led to really just release a video saying, hey, I'm gonna do this video, just not gonna make up something. But something I wanted to talk about with you guys on tonight, and I'm gonna be before you brief, and it's called suspicious transport discharges. So you're probably wondering, Trey, what are you talking about? What is a suspicious transport discharge? Well, I'm gonna share a story with you. There was it was probably about, I want to say about 3 years ago. COVID was still pretty, rampant. COVID was, hitting people hard, taking people out of this world. God forbid, I hate, it had to happen to a lot of people, and a lot of people lost their life during COVID. But I got this call to our office about a transport from a nursing home that's in Wake County. And they were very adamant about getting this lady out of this facility. And they was going to transport her from Wake County to Nash County. She was at the rehab facility, but she was going to more of a skilled nursing facility, if that's what you want to call it, Bryan Center, whatever you call it. But so I actually was the one that did the transport because it was out of town. I didn't want any of my other drivers doing the transport. So I did the transport. But when I got there, I noticed that people was acting very strange. They was like, they was all sitting around waving, telling her bye and rushing to get her stuff out of the vehicle, getting in the vehicle. So her son was the one that really, arranged the trip. And he was in South Carolina. He's saying he was sick. He couldn't make the appointment. Excuse me. He couldn't make the pickup for me to get her to transport her to her place of discharge. Well, place of origin, really. Excuse me. So what I did was, it was basically she had one friend there. It was an elderly lady. I transported the lady from there to Rocky Mount, North Carolina. Well, when I got her there, this was still a thing where any new admission, they do a swab and they check, all this information out about, if they're sick or if they got a cold or whatever the case may be. So as I was rolling her inside the door, the nurse came out and was like, hey, Miss Susie, whatever her name was, welcome to, the Bryan Center. It's happy to have you here. And she was like, oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Well, I gave them the face sheet. I gave them the information of who she was, and they were expecting her, but they said one thing: we're going to have to do a COVID test on you before you enter the facility. So they did a COVID test on the lady, and guess what? She tested positive for COVID. All right, no big deal. Okay. I was upset because no one at the old facility told me that she was COVID positive. As there's certain protocols as a transport company that you take to handle a COVID positive patient. So the nurse that came out and did the swab, she was like, she showed me, she says, Kira, I need to talk to you in the corner. She says, Miss Susie is COVID positive. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Are you serious? She was like, yeah. She said, you might want to get, where's her daughter or where's her son? I said, her son said he's in South Carolina. He's sick. All right. So I get him on the phone and I said, hey, Steve. Hey, Trey, how's it going? Good. Your mom, Susie, we got a situation going on. He was like, oh boy, what's going on? I said, well, I'm gonna let you talk to the nurse. The nurse got on the phone and said, hey, I wasn't really expecting her to say what she told him, but she got on the phone and she said, hey, Mr. Steve, how are you doing today? He's like, I'm good. I'm trying to get over this cold, blah, blah, blah. She said, well, I just want to let you know that your mom tested positive for COVID. He was like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. And this is what caught me off guard. She said, I hate to inform you, but we cannot accept her in the facility with her being a COVID positive patient. Okay, so I'm thinking that he's going to give me some kind of resolution to handle this. He gets back on the phone after the administrator came out and the charge nurse, DON, whatever you call it, said we cannot take her into the facility. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay, what are we going to do here? Anybody got a game plan? He's like, well, Trey, I don't know what we're going to do. Can you call back to the old facility and talk to them? That's not my job. I'm a transporter. Why should I have to call? You call. So he called and talked to the people at the old facility, which is in Wake County. But guess what? They said, we're not accepting her back. So now, as a transport company, as me, I'm caught in the middle of it. So note this. I dropped her off at 11 o'clock on a Thursday morning. I had to pick up in Warsaw, North Carolina. A lot of you guys may not know where it is. It's an hour and a half away. I had to pick up there, a nursing home discharge there back to Goldsboro. Well, the lady stuck with me. The old facility is fighting with the new facility where we're not taking her back. You guys knew, as they're absolutely right. The old lady knew, the old company knew that she had COVID, but they failed to disclose that she had COVID. So now I'm telling the new facility, okay, guys, what are we going to do? They were like, well, take her back. So I'm like, okay. So I get on the road and she's in the back of my van and I call back up to the facility and the facility says, yeah, I just talked to my administrator. We cannot accept her back. I'm sorry. You're going to have to work it out with the son. So I called the son back. The son is like, well, I'm sick. I have COVID. I don't know what to tell you, Trey. Take her to the emergency room. So I take her to the emergency room and I try to get her admitted into the emergency room. And guess what? As I went through the triage part, they basically said, well, she has no signs and symptoms, so we can't accept her here. So now I'm calling the old facility and I'm fighting with them. And I said, look, guys, I'm caught in the middle of this. I am a transport provider. I'm only doing my job of doing the discharge from point A to point Z, and that is in Nash County. It's not fair to me that I've got to be caught up in the middle of this because you guys failed to tell me she had COVID and the new facility is refusing to admit her in this facility. The hospital already said that, they wasn't going to accept her. So she's riding around in my van for 4 hours and I'm fighting and I'm fussing and I'm yelling at the old facility. So I had to basically, at that moment, I called the state survey team and I had to call Adult Protective Services. Now, once I got Adult Protective Services in, they heard my story. State survey team that goes in and does the nursing home inspections, they heard my story. So basically, I'm in the van with her at a Harris Teeter parking lot for 1 hour. 3 hours went by. The last hour, I was waiting for an extra hour trying to get them to figure out a game plan. So I eventually got impatient and I called back to the old facility and I said, listen, I don't care what you guys say. This is you guys' fault. You guys actually knew she had COVID. You guys discharged her. You guys failed to tell the new facility. I have nothing to do with this. So by then I got a beep and it was from Adult Protective Services and I had another beep from the state survey team saying, take her back to the old facility. So I took her back to the old facility. I was 4 hours late picking up my discharge from Warsaw, North Carolina. And it was a very, very bad day. And me as a person, I have a big heart and I normally try to look out for everybody on pricing. But that was one day I charged God knows how much money because of inconveniencing me and the amount of time I had to have her. It was a risk on me to have her in the van with COVID as a positive COVID patient. But what I'm saying is be careful as a transport company. Be careful when you're doing discharges. Whenever you're doing a discharge from a facility, make sure you get a good point of contact. Make sure someone is there You talk to a daughter, uncle, or whoever the case may be. Find out if they have any kind of sicknesses, even MRSA. Find out if the person even has MRSA, because a lot of times when you're trying to admit someone in a new facility and they find out they have MRSA, they're not going to take them. You also have to be careful of if they have any medical issues that would cause them to not be accepted in that facility. Be careful, guys, because a lot of times these family members are so cold-hearted, and a lot of times these facilities that they're at, their insurance is running out, and the family doesn't want to be responsible for them, so they're going to try everything they possibly can to get them off their back. So what they're going to try to do is get you to take the responsibility of picking them up and taking them to a new facility, and the new facility is not going to accept them. I have even taken people from old facilities to new facilities, and they weren't even ready. They said, "Oh, we're not ready for them for 4 more days. We're not accepting them for 4 more days. Why are they pushing us off now?" There are actually cold-hearted people, cold-hearted family members that really do not care about their loved ones, and they will do anything they can to push the burden off on someone else. They want you to figure it out. And just so happen, we as a transport company sometimes get the bitter end of the stick. So that's what I'm saying. You also have to be careful about taking, residents and clients to the doctor. And the reason why I say that, because a lot of times these facilities will send a client to the doctor that's not cognitive. And by the time you get them into the facility, the not nursing facility, but the doctor's office, a lot of times they can't speak for themselves, and the doctor is going to get agitated because of the fact they're not cognitive. They can't speak for themselves. They don't know anything. It's like they're a vegetable. They don't know anything about what's going on in this world. So you have to be careful of being stuck in that situation, because I've been stuck with that 4 times. But in the meantime, doing discharges, make sure you find out as much as you can that will prevent you from them getting admitted into the next facility, because I have had it happen to me 4 hours with a person in my van that was COVID positive and nobody told me. You have to be careful. And then you also have, like I said, you have to be careful with taking people from the nursing home to the doctor's appointments. You have to be careful. Also, you have to be careful when you're picking up mental health patients as well, discharging them, because a lot of times the state will call us to do a transport 5 hours away, but you don't know that that person is an eloper. They elope. So if they say right now, I got to go to the bathroom, and you stop at a 7-Eleven and they run, you're responsible. And the first thing they're going to do is try to blame the transport company. They want to take the blame off of everybody they possibly can. And then a lot of times the state will investigate you, and then you'll be held responsible for abandonment. So that's all I'm saying, because it's happening with me with the discharge, and I have seen people try to pass off complex cases to different people, different companies, so that they won't have to deal with it. For instance, yesterday I had a case where there was a guy, he was an elderly gentleman, and he was like 82 years old, and he was at a mental hospital, and we had to transport him to the emergency room. Well, the first question I asked is, why is he going to the emergency room? Okay, we do have the ability to know, because we fall up under that HIPAA as a transport company. Why is he going to the emergency room? Who's going to be there? Is there anybody going to be there? What kind of behaviors do we have? Does he believe in, yelling, screaming, and trying to cut the driver, or whatever the case may be? Luckily, this guy was, 80-some years old. He just had a very bad behavioral issue, and he had hypertension. And, he had some other issues. So you have to ask these questions prior to doing transports when it comes down to discharges, because you don't want to end up being stuck with a hard case, and then you end up having to get your way out of it. You shouldn't be the problem solver to get yourself out of that situation. It should be a smooth transition. But a lot of times there's families out there that gives 2 nickels about their loved ones. They know that these facilities and these families know that they're a hard situation to deal with, and they'll try to pass it off on you. And I've only had this situation happen to me one time, as it pertains to the individual that was COVID positive. And then I had to stick with them for 4 hours. And then I had to fuss and argue and scream and yell between this facility, Adult Protective Services, and the state survey team, because I can't just leave the patient on the side of the road, because I will get charged with abandonment. And I don't need that. So that's why I'm trying to educate you, new guys that's coming in the industry, or you old heads, to be careful. Because I've been in this game for 10 years, and I've seen almost everything you can possibly think of. So you want to be careful and watch your back when it comes to that. You want to find out during the intake of them calling to do the transport, okay, is there anything I need to be aware of? Are they, even though COVID at this moment is we don't really hear about it anymore, but it's still out there, are they COVID positive? Do they have MRSA? Do they have a DNR order? These are things that you have to know before you transport, because your job is to make this transport as smooth as possible. You do not need any issues on your end. It's not the transport company's responsibility to figure this mess out. You're not a social worker. And a lot of times, if you just take a transport discharge off bat like that, and you don't know a history, and you get stuck because these families out here are cruel, then you're in a mess. You're stuck in between facility, new facility. And that's one thing you don't want to get yourself tied up into. That's all I'm saying, guys. Be careful. And if you need any help or any questions, reach out to me. Thank you so much.